are you? How are you going to do this? And what I can tell you is, this is a significantly harder way to go. But you won't get to the end of your career and say, what have you done? And you said, I put sand on the beach. The problem with these people is that they get real tired of doing it after a while. It just comes to an end. In the United States, it's people who are 45 years old and they're full professors and they say, there's no more promotions, there's no more money, why the hell am I doing this? And they just stop. They barbecue, they go fishing, they play golf. If that's what you don't do, that's fine. But if you're really into this because you're excited about finding out stuff, you're excited about discovery, then what you're going to have to do, in my opinion, is do this. Why did I take that one project a year that I knew nothing about? Because it forced me to get back up in here and think and go, holy Christ, what am I going to do about these organs? Another one I looked at was child labor. Okay, everybody's complaining about sweatshops and child labor, and I'm going, is it really that bad? Can we do something about it? I wrote a paper that the UN's picked up, and they're thinking about trying to exercise what I put into the thing. I didn't know a thing about child labor until I started working on it. And again, it got me re-energized. I'm not doing this. If I was doing it only in patriation, it's over, guys. I've done everything I can do. Not true. Okay, characteristics with this, and I talked about this yesterday, but it's important for you all. If you're going to do something that's important, what's it going to be? If you're going to be one of these people that has an impact, what do you have to do? What are the characteristics of research that have impact? In my opinion, this is all my opinion, I could be wrong. You have to be able to defend it. You can't just say, I think. Okay? I didn't say product cannibalism. I said product cannibalism is based upon choice economics theory. You've got various choices that have different valences of plus and minuses to it, and what I want to do is I want to apply that to these identical products. What's the choice between a pink can and a blue can? So it was well established, well-grounded theory. Seemingly small independent variables. Let me give you an example. One of the hottest topics in academics today is entrepreneurship. It is big time. In the United States, we have 250 endowed chairs. That means somebody's giving $2 million to the university to say, go out and hire somebody to teach entrepreneurship. We have 250 of them, 125 of them are empty. We can't find anybody to fill them. They don't know anything about it. But one of the biggest questions we have, at least in the States, how can I identify who's going to be an entrepreneur? Are they different? Do they think different? Was Bill Gates different? What's the commonality between Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Steve Jobs, and one of the other guys who started Apple, Wojciechowski or whatever his name was? What do they have in common? They think very differently. But what's a standing out, glaring problem that they have?
They're committed, or
they're committed. None of them have a college degree. Why not? One went to Harvard, one went to Stanford, one went to USC, and Michael Dell went to the University of Texas. And they sat there and said, he was boring. All you were doing the whole time was teaching me this. You talked about stuff that was irrelevant to what I thought was important in business. So they said, to hell with it, I'm leaving. Now, an independent variable is, if I'm saying, how do I identify an entrepreneur? One of the things I would say to you is, I think these people are handicapped. I think these people are different. I think these people think differently. But why? And I think, an explanation. I'll be testing it. I'm actually going over to test it with a friend of mine. And that is, I think a good portion, not all, but a good portion, or an important segment of the population, are ADHD people. They have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. In other words, they're me. Okay? There's no way I can do one thing at a time. I've got to be doing 50 things. I'm bouncing off the walls. I get kicked out of every school I went to. I couldn't say the alphabet when I went to college. Okay? But if you look at the 5 characteristics of an entrepreneur, multitasking, taking risks, observational insights, a vast majority of them have these 5 characteristics. You look at what an ADHD kid has, they're identical. So what I've taken is a very small disability, an independent variable, and said, I can project who's going to turn out to be an entrepreneur. Am I right? I don't know. There's 7 different kinds of ADHD people. I think there's at least three categories of them that explain to you being different and thinking different. Your brain's wired different. I can't read out loud. If you said, read this thing to us, I can't do it. It's impossible. Can't do it. My mind, I read down the page. I don't read across the page. So when I read the first word of every thing. At the same time, I'm scanning the rest of the words, but I can't read it out loud. I know what's on the page. I can tell you what's on the page, but I can't read it. That's different. That's literally multitasking when you read. Okay, I've got a T-shirt that my daughter gave me. It's the same way. And it says, I can multitask. I can talk and piss you off at the same time. I have a pretty good tendency to do that. But a very small variable. You have a learning disability. Let's turn that into a prediction that you have a higher probability of being an entrepreneur. And when you say this to families, they lighten up. Why? They think their kid's not a dummy. And they think their kid's not going to be cast aside because they're different. You've taken a disability and turned it into an ability. And I really honestly believe, is every entrepreneur that way? Absolutely not. But is there a good portion of them that are? And the answer is yes, there are. 6% of the population in the United States, adult population, are ADHD people, not kids. You carry it on as an adult. Large effects on the dependent variable. Why would I have a large effect on the entrepreneurship field? Because I can predict ahead of time, move this kid over and teach them entrepreneurship. Don't teach them and turn them off like you did Bill Gates and you did Michael Dell and those guys. Let's take them in Babson and make sure that they come out entrepreneurial thinking. Every course you take at Babson is entrepreneurship. English is entrepreneurship. Okay? It could have a significant impact on our society because what are we doing with ADHD kids now? What did they do with me? We drug them. So what you're saying is, I'm going to drug the next generation of entrepreneurs, and our whole country, my country, is based upon entrepreneurs. New ideas, taking risks, venture capital, all the rest of it is entrepreneurship. This very seemingly kind of obscure thing could have a very significant impact on education. I just finished up with one of the PhD students at Bonn, my first one that's graduated. And her whole thing was, can we predict who's going to become? And she used the variables of taking an entrepreneurship class and being a part of a family business. You grew up in a family environment where business was talked about at the table. My kids are entrepreneurial because that's the way they grew up, in my opinion. They didn't know anything different. They worked in the companies and they saw how they worked. Captures the spirits of the time. One of the most important things we have going on right now during this globalization is we've got emerging markets and transition markets. And the biggest topics that they have right now, the thing they want to know, the reason they want an EMBA in China is what? They want it in Russia. They want it all over. How do we get entrepreneurial spirit to work? How do we get people to take those risks? How do we transform them of 50 years of being told what to do and turn them loose? And everybody talks about entrepreneurship in Russia, but it's the mob. It's not true entrepreneurial adventures. It's more of a coercion type of thing. But there's a spirit of the time, and in a vast majority of the world, one of the things they're looking at is this topic that I'm talking about. Could I get a paper published on that? That quick. Why am I taking so long on this? Because I want it to be right. I really think this could be the most important thing I've ever done, and it's very small. You're different, you think differently, and there's a reason for that, and that's going to mean that you're going to grow up and be different than he is from a business standpoint. And I need to be able to identify that. If I can identify that, I'm not going to give you Ritalin because I don't want to kill you off. I don't want to kill off that creativity.